welcome to another jewelry making video brought to you by keepsakecrafts.net. Today we're going to be making this bracelet using a variety of beads, and this is a great technique that you can use to make all sorts of different bead bracelets, and I will show you some examples at the end of how you can adapt this technique in many different ways. So to make this bracelet you will need a variety of beads, and these are the ones I've chosen today. I have some bugle beads, which are kind of fun for this technique. I have some spacers and some round beads. You'll need a clasp. I'm using a toggle clasp, but you could use a lobster clasp if you want. You'll need a crimp or two, and also some small spacer beads, just little bitty ones. And you'll need some beading wire. For tools, you can use crimpers or chain nose pliers, it's up to you, and wire cutters, and also a ruler, and bead bugs. These are great little tools to help secure beads on wire. So the first thing you need to do is decide what size bracelet you want to make. Most wrists are anywhere from 6.5 to 7.5 inches around, but you need to know what size bracelet you want, and then subtract an inch from that number for a toggle. So for example, I'm going to make a 7-inch, slightly larger than 7-inch bracelet, so we'll call it just over 6 inches, and then you want to cut a piece of bead stringing wire that's 4 times that length. It'll be more than you need, but I'd much rather have a little extra to cut off at the end rather than run out. So now I'm going to string on the toggle bar of my clasp and center it on my wire. Once you've centered the toggle on the wire, go ahead and slide on your little silver bead over both wires. This will help keep it in place. And then it depends on what sorts of beads you've decided to use for your bracelet. I'm going to string on a couple of these bugle beads because whenever you have a toggle clasp, you always want to be able to bend the toggle sideways with a little bit of clearance. In other words, if I had a big bulky round bead here, right here at this end, I wouldn't be able to use the toggle because you have to turn it sideways. So these little bugle beads will give me some space. So I think just 2 will be plenty to give me length for my toggle. And next I'm going to string on a spacer, and I'm going to use one of these since they're part of my design anyways, on both strands. So I've used the bugle beads to sort of decorate, whoops, get that out of there, sort of decorate this end. There we go. And now that's bending nicely. And now I can start the pattern from my bracelet. Well, actually it'll be a little different at the end, and then we'll get into the pattern. So I'm going to string on 3 bugle beads, but as I'll show you, as you're doing this pattern, you can use all sorts of beads to do this. You can use just seed beads, you can include big humongous beads, but what we're doing is making a bracelet that sort of resembles a ladder with straight parts on the sides, and then they crisscross in the middle. So here I've gone ahead and strung 3 bugle beads on each side. I actually tried this before with 2, but it didn't look as nice. So you may have to do some experimenting with your particular beads. So now I'm going to do the part of the bracelet that goes across the middle, and that's just a pattern of a spacer, one of these round beads, and a spacer. And I'm putting that on just one of the wires. So I'm going from right to left, and now I'm going to take my other wire and go through these beads from left to right. So you do have to make sure that you have beads with holes that are big enough for the wires to pass through easily. twice. And then grab both of the wire ends and pull. And now we've started the pattern for our bracelet. And I will just repeat. 3 bugle beads, on each side. Now I've seen these done in stretch bracelets, and you could certainly save some time and some trouble doing it with elastic, as long as you find fine elastic. But make sure if you use elastic, you wouldn't want to use these glass bugle beads, because they will cut into your elastic. So now I've done, again, 3 bugle beads on each of the 2 wires, and I'm going to do my pattern of a spacer. Let's find a different color. Here we go. A round bead and a spacer, and then pull this up here a little bit, and go ahead and put the wire back through. Pull it tight, and there you can see the pattern. So I'm going to continue beading this way until I have my desired length of a bracelet. So here I'm nearly done stringing. So what you'll want to do, and by the way, the bead bugs can be added as you get further along the wire. If you're perfectly coordinated and never drop anything, then don't bother, but for me, I'm always dropping things and dumping beads, so I like to use them. You'll want to just tighten everything up. You don't want it as tight as you can possibly get it, but just go ahead and start back at the bottom where you, by your clasp that you added, and just tug each of the pieces snug so that you don't have any excess wire showing. And here we are. And I think if I throw this on the ruler, whoops, oh, pulled off my bead bug. See what I mean? Yeah, I'll just add that back on in a minute. I just threw on this part of the clasp so I could measure it. Well, that should be perfect. So what I'm going to do is put these 3 bugle beads back on. And then we'll just add crimps and attach it to the other part of our clasp. And by the way, I misspoke in the beginning when I said, I fling another one off, see there? When I said that you need 4 times the amount of wire, I would go with, depending on your pattern, at least 5 times the amount of wire. I actually went and cut 6 times the amount of wire here. I actually restarted, which is why you may have noticed that this bead wasn't there at the beginning, and I thought it just kind of looked better to have this little silver bead going through the 2 wires. It just kept it a little bit better contained. So next, add on a crimp. And then put it through your toggle, the other part of your clasp, and then slide the wire back through the crimp. And then we're going to secure this all the way down here at that bead. Now get your wires, your beading wires, make sure they're snugged up. You don't want it overly tight because you need a little bit of looseness so that the bracelet moves gracefully, otherwise it'll just be stiff and not hang nicely. But you don't want a whole lot of the beading wire showing. And then I like to use just flat nose pliers, chain nose pliers to flatten out the crimp, but you can use crimpers. Give it a good squeeze. Test it. It's not going anywhere. Clip off. Actually, I'm going to use my flush cutters because I found if I use regular wire cutters to cut this wire, sometimes there's a little tiny bit left that scratches the skin. It's not comfortable. But the flush cutters will get it right at the bottom of the crimp. I think my flush cutters maybe need a little sharpening. I have to work on that. Ask the husband to work on that. There we go. And then repeat for your other wire, attaching it to your clasp, and your bracelet is done. Let me show you, clear the decks a little bit here, show you a few different ways you can use this technique of going up two sides and then crisscrossing in the middle. Here's another way. You would use these long tube beads, and they would be your horizontal bands, so you get even more of a look of a ladder. And you can use whatever you want. I just used some large seed beads on the side, and you know, experiment and figure out how many beads on the side. I think there's 5 here. Work to make it just look nice. You can also just use regular plain old round beads, and then I've added seed beads on the sides. And again, experiment. I think there's 10 here. It depends on how big everything is. And I just went through the round beads. You could actually make a bracelet out of all seed beads. These are just some gold seed beads and some slightly larger white ones. And there's variations here too. Now in this first loop around, I just crisscrossed, in this first loop around, I just crisscrossed through the white bead. You can see that look. It gives you something different than if you went through more of the seed beads. So on this one, I strung 10 and then went through 2 on each side, including the white one in the middle. And that gives you more of the ladder look. So you can have it more rounded or more straight. You can do patterns of colors with the seed beads. The possibilities are endless. So here's another look at the bracelet we made today. I hope that you will give this project a try. It's a lot of fun to just pull out a variety of beads that you have and see how you can make them work. So thanks so much for watching Keepsake Crafts jewelry making videos. Please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss anything, and also check out the blog keepsakecrafts.net and subscribe. I have lots of crafting and sewing ideas and inspiration for you. Thank you for watching and have a good one. Happy creating. Bye-bye.